In 1944, a man named William Patrick Hitler walked into a United States Navy recruitment office and tried to enlist. Adolf Hitler was at war with America. His nephew wanted to fight him. It begins in 1911. A young Irish woman named Bridget Dowling is living in Dublin when she meets a charming man at a horse show. He introduces himself as Alois Hitler, well-dressed. Bridget falls for him. They marry and move to Liverpool. That same year, she gives birth to a son. They name him William Patrick Hitler. Yes, that William Patrick Hitler. Now Alois, the father, is a complicated man. He was actually Adolf Hitler's half-brother, the son of Alois Hitler Sr. from a different relationship. So young William Patrick is Adolf Hitler's nephew by blood. At this point in history, the name means nothing. Adolf Hitler is nobody, a failed artist drifting around Vienna, sleeping in homeless shelters, painting postcards for loose change. He is not famous. He is not dangerous. He is just an embarrassing relative that nobody talks about. William grows up as a fairly ordinary British kid in Liverpool. His father, Alois, who was Adolf Hitler's half-brother from an earlier relationship, making William Adolf's nephew by blood, eventually abandons the family entirely and disappears back to Germany. Bridget raises William alone. They are poor, but William gets an education, grows up speaking English with a Liverpool accent, and lives the kind of life that history usually forgets about. Then, the year is 1933. Adolf Hitler becomes Chancellor of Germany, and overnight, the embarrassing nobody uncle becomes the most powerful man in Europe. Most people in William's position would quietly change their name, move somewhere remote, and never speak of the family again. William Patrick Hitler was not most people. He traveled to Germany to visit his uncle. Adolf Hitler received him, which immediately created a problem Hitler had not anticipated. For years, he had been carefully constructing a mythology around himself, a man of destiny, a pure Germanic figure, something almost beyond the ordinary human. His entire political identity rested on this image of singular, elevated greatness. And here was this half-Irish kid from Liverpool, son of a man who had abandoned his family, raised in England, carrying a Merseyside accent knocking on his door. Hitler hated it. He hated what William represented, the messy, ordinary, embarrassing human reality behind the legend. By multiple accounts from people close to the regime, Hitler referred to William privately as his loathsome nephew. He complained about him to his inner circle. He resented the very fact of his existence. But he did not cut William off entirely, and the reason for that reveals something about how Hitler operated. He was obsessed with controlling his own story. William, back in England, could give interviews. He could write articles. He could humanize the man who was working very hard to seem like something beyond human. Keeping William at least partially within reach, giving him just enough to maintain some loyalty, was the safer play. So Hitler arranged minor positions for William in German industry. Small jobs, nothing with real visibility or power. It was hush money dressed up as nepotism. William was not satisfied. He kept pushing for something better, a real position, actual responsibility. Every time he pushed, Hitler's contempt deepened. Somewhere around 1936, they had a meeting that did not go well. William had asked again for a meaningful role within the Reich. Hitler lost his temper. He told William he was an embarrassment, that his existence was a complication, that if he truly wanted to help, he would surrender his British citizenship, become German, and stop asking questions. And then Hitler made a threat. He claimed to possess damaging information about their shared family history, specifically rumors about the ancestry of Hitler's own father that the Führer was desperate to keep buried. The implication was clear: push too hard, and things get very uncomfortable for you. William Patrick Hitler heard all of it, looked at his uncle, and refused to give up his British citizenship. From that moment, the relationship was finished. Hitler stopped acknowledging William with anything resembling warmth. He became, in Hitler's mind, a problem to be managed and eventually simply erased. Erasing William proved difficult. He left Germany for good and returned to England. He began writing articles for British newspapers, pieces that described his uncle not as a politician who might yet moderate, but as a genuinely dangerous man the world should take seriously as a threat. This was the mid-1930s. A significant portion of British and American opinion still believed Hitler was a loud nationalist who would eventually calm down, someone to negotiate with. William had sat across from him at a table. He had a different view. When Hitler learned his nephew was writing critical pieces in the British press, The reaction was fury, but William was in England, and England was not Germany. Then, in early 1939, just before the war, William and his mother Bridget sailed to the United States. William went on the lecture circuit. He stood on stages across America and told audiences what Adolf Hitler was actually like at close range, what the man behind the rallies thought of people, what he was capable of. He was trying to warn America the way he had tried to warn Britain. For Hitler, this was beyond embarrassment, his own blood, on American stages, actively working against him in the one country he most needed to keep out of the war. He stopped allowing William's name to be spoken in his presence. To the inner circle, William Patrick Hitler no longer existed. When Japan attacked Pearl Harbor in December 1941, and America entered the war, William found himself in a position with no good options. He was a British citizen living in the United States. His last name was Adolf Hitler's last name, and he wanted to serve. He tried to enlist. The military said no. The security concerns were straightforward. What if he was a plant? What if the whole thing was an elaborate intelligence operation? The name alone was enough to make any commanding officer hesitate. William wrote a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt. In it, he was direct. He described his background honestly, his British upbringing, his years in Germany, his departure, his public opposition to the Nazi regime. He acknowledged the difficulty of his position. He asked for the chance to prove, in the only concrete way available to him, that his name did not define him. Roosevelt passed the letter to J. Edgar Hoover at the FBI. Hoover ordered a full investigation. Agents reviewed William's time in Germany, his writings, his associations, his finances. They were looking for any indication that this was not what it appeared to be. What they found was that William Patrick Hitler was exactly who he claimed to be. In 1944, the United States Navy accepted him. He was assigned to the Medical Corps as a hospital corpsman, the Navy's term for a medic. He served. During his time in uniform, he was wounded in action and received the Purple Heart. His fellow sailors, by most accounts, treated him like anyone else. There were those who were uncomfortable with the name. But William, by all available description, was a capable and unassuming man who did not invite attention to himself. He was there to do a job. When the war ended in 1945, William Patrick Hitler received an honorable discharge from the United States Navy. And Adolf Hitler never sees any of it. He kills himself on the 30th of April, 1945, in a bunker in Berlin as the city falls around him, having spent his final weeks ranting about betrayal and encirclement. After the war, William wanted only to disappear. He changed his name. William Patrick Hitler became William Stewart Houston, taking his mother's family name and combining it with Houston. He settled on Long Island, New York. He married a German-born woman named Phyllis Jean-Jacques. He found work in a hospital, which suited his medical training from the Navy. He declined interviews. He did not seek attention. He and Phyllis had 4 sons. Those 4 sons, as far as anyone has been able to confirm, made a private agreement among themselves. None of them would have children. They would be the last. Whatever weight came with that bloodline, the history, the name, the association would end with their generation, deliberately, quietly, finally. William Patrick Stewart Houston died in 1987. He was 76 years old. His wife Phyllis outlived him by nearly 2 decades, passing away in 2004. His sons are believed to be still living, somewhere in the United States, private men who have kept their word. Adolf Hitler built an entire ideology on the idea that blood was destiny, that heritage determined character, that who you came from decided who you were. His own nephew disproved it with his life. Same blood, a Purple Heart, and 4 sons who chose, without fanfare, to make sure the story ended there.